Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC are amongst those people who will be celebrating the judgment of the Constitutional Court that Jacob Zuma cannot go back to parliament. Should the ANC fall under 50%, this will give them an upper hand when it comes to negotiation in a coalition government to put Cyril Ramaphosa as the presidential candidate. No other party can compete with Cyril Ramaphosa unless it is Jacob Zuma. Now, in an interview, Cyril Ramaphosa also shared his thoughts on this judgment and spoke about pala, corruption, COVID, and his term in office so far. Let's talk about that and much more.
Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
Peace in Pan-Africanism to all my African brothers and sisters from all around the world. Welcome back to King Said So. I'm your host, King 053 Mr. Easy Imali Nengi, and we're back at it again with another one. This time around, we're speaking about the response of Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC to the judgment handed out by the Constitutional Court that Jacob Zuma cannot go back to parliament. The ANC will be celebrating this. This is a victory for the ANC. This victory is bigger than the other victories that Mkhonto Wesizwe got, the other three victories, according to me, because this means that whatever you do, Mkhonto Wesizwe, you cannot send Jacob Zuma to parliament. This is very significant when it comes to how things are going to play out, especially when it comes to if the ANC falls below 45%, 50%, and they had to get into negotiation. They can negotiate with Mkhonto Wesizwe, no problem, as long as Jacob Zuma won't go to parliament. The ANC would negotiate with Mkhonto Wesizwe, no problem, I promise you. The issue with Mkhonto Wesizwe and the ANC is not the two parties working together. The issue is the two people, Cyril Ramaphosa and Jacob Zuma. Those two men hate each other. They do, to be honest. And it is, it is not hidden. It is not hidden that the two men don't like each other. Now, I have to congratulate Utsidi from Radio 2702, who did a fantastic job interviewing Cyril Ramaphosa. This interview, guys, if you haven't seen the whole interview, go and watch the whole interview. This interview was great. Just quickly listen to the line of questioning that they gave Cyril Ramaphosa.
Matter. Mr. President, I actually just want to pick up from right there where you just heard the breaking news. The Constitutional Court has finally ruled on this particular matter about your predecessor and whether or not he can make a turn to return to Parliament. Let's first speak about your reaction to the news.
Well, the Constitutional Court has ruled, and as I've often said, that's the highest court in the land, and we've given the judiciary the right to arbitrate disputes amongst us in terms of our constitution. So they have come out with a ruling, and I note that ruling, and that is what it is.
Noting the ruling is what you actually did in December. I, again, go back to conversations you had with journalists ahead of the formal launch of the Mkhonto Wesizwe Party. I asked you, former presidents are saying A, B, C, D, E. You said you'd note it. And look at where it's led to the ANC and where you are today. Should you have not dealt with that matter, particularly around former President Jacob Zuma, differently? Are there any regrets about that? We will not comment. Suddenly to commenting. Suddenly there is a question of suspension. Should this matter not have been handled differently by the ANC?
Because it was already clear in December when he publicly spoke that he violated the ANC constitution, yes. And yet as leaders of the party, you waited until much later to start considering action against him.
Are you saying should we not have acted as the ANC?
No.
Or as government?
ANC. No, obviously as the ANC.
Oh, no. As the ANC, obviously we have to follow the prescripts of our constitution. And the prescripts of our constitution that anybody who is a member must be given due process. There must be due process, and they must go through the various processes of hearings and all that, and representation. And so that is what we followed. So we followed our constitution to the letter. And we could not have done it any other way.
If I was an ANC member, I'd actually say, as Clement just pointed out, the Constitution is quite clear. It took a really, really long time for the NEC to decide to actually start relying on its Constitution. You went from, we will not comment on this, we will not discuss this,
Yes.
to having random remarks being made in public engagements.
Yes.
And that's what the clumsiness in how this was being handled actually took place, is in different leaders. In your Secretary General defending the actions of the ANC over the years in the name of an individual. It was those mishaps before the ANC remembered it's got a constitution and it's quite clear about what the violations are. So it's all good and well for you today to speak about the constitution and what you've done, but you looked at the constitution many months down the road.
Gee, I wish you could be an ANC member and insist on
I'd rather not.
following the Constitution. My God, you're so good at it. No. No. In the end, I mean, we followed the Constitution and we took the decisions that we took at the time. And some decisions sometimes you'll find that maybe you should have taken a different decision, you should have done things incorrectly, but it is what it is. We took the decision to put him through a disciplinary process, and that is what we have done. And what we should really be found guilty for is to follow our Constitution. And that I will concede that, yes, we are guilty for having followed the terms of our Constitution.
You're guilty for having started late. Gwede Mantashe was on the show a couple of months ago. I asked him a similar question and he said, we don't want to be disrupted by somebody else. We are focusing on elections. And I said, but you can chew and walk at the same time. Who says when you are taking action against a leader who has clearly violated the Constitution, that somehow takes you off campaigning?
Gee, Clement and CD, I mean, I wish you could be ANC members because you are really sticklers for the Constitution.
Just last
we
question
would have
on-
real constitutionalists in the ANC with you. No, but we took the decision that we took. And as I said, some decisions should have been taken earlier, some should have been taken later, but in the end, we have taken the decision.
Yeah, Cyril Ramaphosa is not a man of many words. When he says, I have noted the judgment, he's done. He have noted the ruling. He does not talk too much. But luckily, these presenters, they pushed Cyril Ramaphosa. Really, listen, this is, for a long time, this is one of the interviews that I've enjoyed of Cyril Ramaphosa because of the line of questioning. And I think, I didn't even know this radio station, to be honest with you. And I was so impressed with how Utsidi and the other gentlemen were. I know the gentleman, the face, I've seen him somewhere. But Utsidi, I did not know. I mean, she's fantastic. The ANC did take too much time in dealing with Jacob Zuma. You can hear also Cyril Ramaphosa say, frustrated that the process took a little bit too longer than it should have been because the constitution of the ANC states clearly what should happen when a member, announces himself outside the party and challenges the party. And, the reason it took long, for those who don't understand, is that there's still people of Jacob Zuma in the ANC. You guys don't understand that part. There's still people who are wearing the ANC regalia, campaigning for the ANC, but come the 29th of May, they will vote MK. You understand? And those people, they are not going to come out in public and say it. From the leaders to the ordinary member. I'm telling you, I have friends that are in that position. ANC people saying, no, we are ANC members, card-holding members that are saying, I will never vote for the ANC. You understand? So that's the reason it took long. They were still deliberating how to best deal with Jacob Zuma. It took them long. They thought through their negotiation, through phone calls, they can send someone to speak to him. But unfortunately for them, Jacob Zuma does not mix with Thabo Mbeki or Cyril Ramaphosa or Kgalema Motlanthe. So there was no one they could really send. And their careless Secretary General was already uttering nonsense to the public, and that destroyed and slowed down the whole process, according to me. And after this judgment has been ruled out, given to the public, Many people would have feared that there's going to be a violent uprising or something, because they tried to label Mkhonto weSizwe as a violent political party. But even Cyril Ramaphosa knows that is not going to happen. Let's quickly listen to how the president reacted to claims that there might be some violence that might break out.
Have taken the decision.
This is a very significant ruling coming out of the Constitutional Court. I saw the City Press reporting this weekend that there are concerns of threats of violence. There was a threat analysis that was compiled by the police, crime intelligence, SANDF, that state security agency, that there may be violence if certain parties or certain candidates are barred from contesting. How concerned are you about this particular ruling somehow instigating some kind of violence? I'm sure you've heard what the MK party members have been saying.
I'm not concerned about this instigating violence. President Jacob Zuma should be the one person who should respect the rule of law. We have rule of law in South Africa that governs us. Once a constitutional court has decided that is it. And I mean, should there be any threat of violence, our security forces are ready to deal with that. And we will not even mince our words when it comes to something like that.
Guys, Mkhonto weSizwe, and I'll say it, if I said it once, I've said it 1 million times. Mkhonto weSizwe is not a violent political party. Why are you saying that, King? Because they have shown us that they have discipline. In all their gathering, in all their events, Mkhonto weSizwe has shown that they are a disciplined political party. You know that notion that that cloud that follows Amazulu, they are violent people and all of that. It followed Jacob Zuma and Mkhonto weSizwe, but it has been proven wrong multiple times. I mean, up to this far, there hasn't been, you can't make one example and say, look at them Mkhonto weSizwe people, what they did, whatever, in a group. You know, I know there's isolated events where you will see an EFF person fighting, an ANC person fighting, a DA, that those things, those isolated events, they will always be there because abantu bazihlanyela estrateni mabatagile. But I'm saying the party itself has shown that they are serious about high discipline, high moral for the party. So I was just putting this in just to remind people who are going to watch this event that Mkhonto weSizwe has not even once shown that they are a violent political party. Even with this judgment that was handed out, they received it well, and the party is acting accordingly. Remember that 3 other judgments that went in their favor. This one, unfortunately, for me, which is an important one, that has went against them. But the party is not a violent party. Now, another question that TD asked Jacob Zuma in terms of his, not Jacob Zuma, excuse me, Cyril Ramaphosa, in terms of his term, his first term that is coming to an end. How would you say you did in this first term? Why must people vote for you? What is it that you have achieved in this first term?
So your first term, Mr. President, is coming to an end.
Yes.
You may or may not return, depending on what happens after the 29th of May.
I will return.
You're confident you will return?
I will.
Now, when you started this term, you promised a new dawn. Mm-hmm. You promised to tackle corruption. Mm-hmm. We've seen it very much so and brazen during your presidency. Mm-hmm. You've promised to tackle the issue of sluggish economic growth. I mean, the economy is not moving at all, mm-hmm. which then impacts another promise you made around unemployment. Over 8 million people mm-hmm. are unemployed, and I think unemployment among young people is sitting at about 45%. Mm-hmm. That is not sustainable. When people look at the new dawn you promised and they look at the realities today, that may just be a pipe dream. Was it a pipe dream? What has your new dawn really brought for this country?
Well, what we sought out to do when we got into office in this 6th term is to move South Africa ahead. And as we sought to do so, a number of headwinds then started, in a way, detracting us from our march forward. We had state capture to deal with, and state capture, which, by the way, we have stopped. State capture was an overriding process which had weakened state institutions, including the criminal justice institutions. It had also weakened our state-owned enterprises in ways that really debilitated, and ESCOM and Transnet and PRASA are really good examples of all that. So state capture was one of the key headwinds. The second one was COVID. But then we had to deal with COVID, which descended on our country and indeed the world soon after the sixth administration started. And then we had the floods. Then we had the unrest in July 2021. And but the other one that I mentioned, which people may want to pay less attention on, is gender-based violence. Gender-based violence during my term really reared its head to a point where we had to heed the cries of the women of this country and set up or came up with a national strategic plan, which we're implementing and pouring quite a lot of money into. And then, of course, unemployment also has been going up because of a weak economy, because many of these events really weakened the economy. And during COVID, we lost 2 million jobs, and that really took our economy to the doldrums. It's now gone back to pre-COVID levels. Had we not had COVID, and had we not had all these calamities, it is thought that our economy would have grown by about 3%, which would have been admirably higher than what we have had over quite a number of years. And now, we now are looking at the prospects, or better still, before I go into that. And then we had many other challenges. Challenges, yes, of corruption. Corruption raised its ugly head, particularly during the COVID period, and it was there for everyone to see. But the question should be, have we done anything to deal with all these challenges? And my answer is yes. We have done a lot of things.
According to the response of the president, pointing out all of those things that have went wrong in his term, in his first term, some in his control, some out of his control. For me, I think the president will be the first person to admit that this was not a good term. That is why I think he really wants to go for another term, because this term alone, it was a disaster. And I don't buy the notion that COVID slowed us down and everything. Everyone got slowed down by COVID. Botswana recovered faster than us. Mozambique recovered faster than us. Namibia, here in the SADC, other countries are doing well. Even with everything, the cost of living is still lower in Botswana. Their currencies are still doing better than South Africa. Unemployment is better in those countries. Crime is better in those countries. They don't make COVID an excuse for job creation and for crime. What is the excuse for police not doing their work? You can't say it's COVID. Even with the gender-based violence that he's speaking about, our police simply don't want to work. And that is the truth. You see, so for me, I don't buy this. And when it comes to corruption, guys, if you say you have stopped state capture, then what is going on? How can you say you have stopped state capture, but in COVID, when the Guptas were not there, Jacob Zuma was not there, the 500 billion was stolen by the comrades? It's there. The evidence, like Cyril Ramaphosa says, it's there. It's unarguable that comrades were eating. People were registering companies and getting multi-million tenders in the Department of Health, while we are sitting and hungry. You know, and so we cannot make excuses every time, you know. And I can hear he's not even making excuses. My first term, I need another term to fix my first term. Big mistake of employing under the radar. Messed up the whole ESCOM. Messed up the whole economy. Nobody had confidence in our economy because of ESCOM. Shops were closing, jobs were lost because of Andre the Raider. You understand what I'm saying? So, for me, I don't know. And in this next clip, he speaks about he will be going for another term. They also asked him about Pala Pala. Yo, guys, Pala Pala. If you can just hear what is the answer on Pala Pala.
But just a follow-up on your response on Pala Pala. The Sudanese businessman said he had wanted a refund at some point because he paid the money, but he didn't have the buffaloes delivered. Has your farm paid him back that money?
Well, we because he has a claim. He has a clear claim, and it's a claim that needs to be met, and we are in the process of dealing with that claim.
By dealing with it, you mean repaying the money?
Oh, yes, we have to.
Okay. You nearly resigned because of the scandal, Mr. President. What changed your mind?
Did I really?
I spoke to 2 of your best friends on the show who said they managed to convince you.
And also, never mind that, your Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, again, in public said they stopped you from resigning.
Really?
One is to ask not only what changed your mind, but how do you expect the electorate to trust that as you're asking for them to vote for the ANC with you as the presidential candidate?
Yes.
They must trust that you'll see to 5 years, that you will stick around and not quit on us as a nation, but actually be up for serving till the end of your term if you're voted back into power.
I will be voted back into power, CD, and many may not like this, but it's going to happen. And I will serve my term. And serve is the operative word, serving the people of South Africa with the best that I can give the remaining years of my life. I'm 72 this year, and I will be prepared, willing, and able to serve the people of South Africa, because there's much that needs to be done to improve their lives.
Join us.
Guys. The Sudanese businessman that was supposedly came here with cash money to come and dollars for that matter, to come and buy the cows at the Pala Pala Nature Reserve. He did not get the cows, number one. And Cyril Ramaphosa is admitting to that. He's saying, yeah, no, we are going to pay him back. In his admission that he must pay him back, he is then admitting what the public protector said he did not admit, that there was a transaction. The public protector, who's that Ulomtwana Lowe public protector, said that there was no transaction. And she said, even if there was a transaction, it does not mean that there was a business or what. I can't remember how she phrased it. But she says, no, there was no transaction. We can't prove this and that. We are not to inspect transactions made in the public domain and all of that nonsense. Here is Cyril Ramaphosa saying, we have to pay that man back because we did not give that man cows. It's not my words, it's his words. So number one, it means that there was money that was found in Pala Pala in the millions of rands. He also never denied that. But when you come to ask them, then why didn't you disclose this money? How long did you keep this money here? They can't answer you on those questions. They can't answer you. You know, and I've always said, if it was Jacob Zuma, they would have wanted him 6 feet under the ground, not even in prison. If this was him, they found millions of rands in cash inside couches. There is your president. He's saying he must pay that man back. That man has got a valid claim. We must pay him back. So it means there was money. There was money. Yeah. And yes, Cyril Ramaphosa did want to quit, according to that Pala Pala issue. There was too much pressure. He did not know how he was going to handle it. It is then the ANC that told him, don't worry, we will back you. In backing him, they managed to get Unandipa as the public protector, and he put in Uzondo in as a chief justice. Uzondo, where the JSE did not nominate him. They did not recommend him. He was not recommended, but he was nominated. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, another 5 years, I don't necessarily have a problem with another 5 years of the ANC. I don't know why am I saying that. But I don't see how Cyril Ramaphosa himself can change the ANC. I don't see it, man. I don't think he's hungry enough. I think the man is filthy rich, man. I think he's just a businessman. I think he has lost touch of the ground forces. And I have to say this. I'm sorry, I have to say this. I have to say this. I don't have confidence in my president that he can fix all of this gender-based violence, Transnet, SAA, all of these things during his time, gender-based violence and unemployment, crime. I mean, people are getting shot like it's a game here outside. The way people are carrying guns, people are just dying. I told you, if you are a man and you don't have a legal firearm, bazokubulala labafana. Get a firearm, gentlemen. Ladies also, get a firearm, a legal one. Itsotsi mayifuna ukukuvayisa umhlanganise namadimono akibo fast. Hlanganise nabakibo fast. Because you are going to die and you're going to leave your family behind with this high crime rate in our country. Jesus. Mina sengikhathele manje bafethu. Hayi siziya ku1 manje hayi. Khathele Chinyo Lalani. Thank you so much for everyone who has supported this channel. 25,000 subscribers and still going strong. Nyabonga kakhulu people. Really, I don't have words to thank you guys for supporting this channel. Everyone that's sharing, everyone that's commenting, liking, guys, nyabonga guys. All the members of the channel, those who are contributing to the channel, nyabonga kakhulu guys. Until we meet next time, don't forget to pray. After you pray, stand up, African child. Do your best so that God can do the rest. Peace in Pan-Africanism. I salute you.